Hey guys, and welcome to the penultimate predictions video as we get into the preliminary finals. Which two teams will face off in the grand final, we shall find out this weekend. But first, before we do that, let's look at how it went with the semi-finals. So after getting all the round week one of finals predictions correct, I was totally zero for donuts on the semi-final. I was right, one team did get knocked out in straight sets and the other bounced back, but I got the wrong teams because, of course I did. I should have listened to the tippers and instead I went with my gut feeling, but let's actually look at the games individually. We obviously had Melbourne bet Adelaide by 11 after I tipped Adelaide to win by 9. So again, margin was mostly correct, winner was wrong, but it looked like I was right. Like Melbourne had their early start and their slow crash out, but unlike the Brisbane game where they just sort of kept crashing out, they made a massive comeback. And in some respects, it was Adelaide that was looking like the much more unprofessional and weaker team. They looked really bad for moments, especially in that start and end of the game. And I know there's a lot of talks that is this the end of the Crows dynasty, because with their coach leaving, there's a bit of rumours swelling that a lot of the players are going to leave as well. So Adelaide could be a bit of a lame duck next year, depending on how things go. But regardless, congratulations on Melbourne getting the honours of losing to North Melbourne next week. No, I'm just being silly. But regardless, let's talk about the game that I did not see coming. I had Hawthorn winning by 15. Carlton won by 46. Carlton has just come from nowhere. Carlton last year was a pretty average AFLW team that won one or two games and just got smashed by everyone else, and somehow they were a prelim final. I think almost solely off the back of just some really good drafting in Sophie McKay and Poppy Schultz, who've just done amazing. And the rest of the team is just lifted with them to be, congratulations, Carlton. You've done absolutely amazing. I really am. To be honest, you might notice I've become a bit of a Carlton fan in this out of the last 4 teams remaining, but I'll try to keep my biases aside because first of all, let's talk about the first of the prelim finals, and that is North Melbourne versus Melbourne, or Kangaroos versus D's if it makes it easier to say, but Icon Park, 3:05 p.m. on the Saturday. So a bit later than the semi-final with Icon last weekend, but regardless, the form, obviously, North Melbourne, I think bet Melbourne, it was last year. They haven't played this year, unfortunately. That's again, because Melbourne got that really easy fixture. But as for the odds, the odds are, I think $10 to 1 that North's going to win. Oh my goodness, the odds are so lopsided. But, obviously, Melbourne have been good. They bet Adelaide. Melbourne's handballing game's solid, and they know how to kick goals and defend really well, but they're up against North Melbourne. I will say, though, that North Melbourne did have that. They had some really bad inside 50s against Hawthorn. And while I initially thought it was because Hawthorn was really good at defending, a part of me was maybe North Melbourne was just having an off game. But speaking of off game, if that bad sort of game style continues this week, maybe they could lose. But nah, they've had a break. Usually after an off game, they all bounce back. And I think Melbourne's going to be pretty bashed up after going through the long way through the final. So it's for this reason that I'm I think North Melbourne's going to get back to their usual form and win pretty easily. Let's say by 32. All right, we finally get another final that's not at Icon Park. We're at Brighton Homes Arena, 7:35, also on the Saturday for Brisbane versus Carlton. Obviously, this game's interesting because Carlton played Brisbane here. I think it was round 2 or round 3 and won. So can Carlton make it to a grand final? That would have been the most left field team to make it to a grand final. But I don't know. Brisbane feels like they've gotten a lot stronger since that game. Their performance against Melbourne was pretty solid. They were the only team to beat us in our hot streak at the end of the year. And so this week, and obviously bet Melbourne twice. So I think you can say that I think Brisbane is definitely coming into form at the end of this year. And for this reason, I'm thinking Carlton's good. Because obviously Carlton, look, they had their big wins against West Coast and Hawthorn. But part of me's feeling like they got those big wins because West Coast and Hawthorn were both sort of in a crash out and weren't really ready for their finals. And for this reason, I think once Brisbane gives them a real challenge, I'm not entirely convinced that Carlton's going to have this free-flowing, easy-scoring game that they've had in their previous two finals. I still think they'll be good. I think there's a good chance that they can give Brisbane a run for money, because I want a close final. Like, we've really not had... The closest final was the Melbourne-Adelaide one, and Melbourne still won by almost 2 goals. So, fingers crossed, this can be the close final. And you know what? I'm going to tip it to be the close final. I'm going to say Brisbane wins by 3 in a nail-biter and makes it to a grand final. So yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, we get a close final. But regardless, to go through predictions again, I have North Melbourne winning by 32 and Brisbane by 3. To unfortunately give us a North Melbourne-Brisbane grand final for the 3rd time in a row. Fingers crossed Carlton can break that, but currently I'm not feeling it. But we'll see. You never know. I could be coming back here to tip a Carlton North Melbourne grand final, or even a Carlton Melbourne grand final if, hell freezes over. But regardless, until next time, I will see you later.